As signs of an early sunrise peeked over the Ochoco Mountains, after the long twisty roads of the national forest outside town, we finally made it to our base camp for the day. The day we have been looking forward since the concept of our adventure came into play a few months prior. The day of survival training.
Get a good fire going, and then you take your Altoids can, set it on in the coals, and then take a shovel full of coals and put them on top.
Our teacher for the day is Dan Ward, a bushcrafter and survivalist who owns the channel Ochoco Bushcraft and who teaches bushcrafting and survival skills on YouTube. He had invited us to learn some new skills to survive in the wild. And since we were going to be in his backyard, we paid him a visit. With the open fresh air and good weather on our side, with the desire to learn, we were ready for our first lesson.
So you'll get inside one of these bubbles. Look at that. Did you see that squirt out of there?
Yeah.
I'll get a couple bubblefuls of this pitch out of here and put it on the end of some sticks like this. Get some bigger. That's a big bubble there. Oh, nice.
Yes, that was a good one. Dude.
See that?
Yeah.
I hit that with a match or a lighter and stuff. That's gonna sit there and burn. So I'll do several of these, get some big globs of pitch on the end of some pieces of wood, and I'll light those. That'll give me a sustained flame to get some more kindling going and whatever I've got, get my fire going. So it's the same theory as your cotton ball with Vaseline. You know, this is a volatile, flammable source. Into a piece, because that's been in the back of my truck. It'll be much darker and give a much stronger smell.
Yeah.
So when you guys are out on your hikes and stuff, this is one of my most favorite skills to practice. Unless it's storming and I'm really cold, I won't ever use the cotton balls. I will constantly do this to practice my skills. Some of these with your hand, and you can do that. You can break it with your hand. It's probably not going to have much fat in it, but when you get down here like this, look at that. That's as solid as a rock. Hard as I can pull both hands, and there's not even a single bit of give to this. We're up here. The reason that there's absolutely no give to this is because this thing right here is loaded with pitch. So cut it back here, maybe two, but start sawing one of those rounds or both together right through there. Yeah, you are. Okay, now here, trade me saws, Dave, so you can feel the difference, and just cut this right here somewhere, anywhere you want.
Oh, great. Now you have an online store, right?
Yeah.
Or get a 15% discount on the first order?
easier end. I'll show you something real quick before you get into that.
Blades.
See this?
Teeth are different.
The black coating prevents the pitch from sticking in the teeth. You're going to have to use WD-40 to get all of that out. So that's an advantage. The Baco Saw black coating, you'll never have it gummed up with pitch.
How's your teeth compared to it?
A little bit finer too.
Well, I've got a little tooth and a big tooth too, or is it just the opposite sides?
Right, but without that black coating on here, you're actually going to have to get WD-40 now to get that ungummed.
And I did it with my Gitzo kitchen steak knife.
Wow. I mean, that's the gasoline of the forest.
Well, I could feel as it was getting in there deeper.
The way the tree is laying, it may not be in all the roots. So like up here, where this has a lot more give to it, and I was actually able to break a piece, it's dried out. There's still a little bit. I'm gonna go see, I think that I can get a piece right out of here.
Oh, well, that was fast.
See that?
Good.
So that's all I need.
You know everything, don't you? Only fools sit and listen. There's a whole world under the ocean. I've only seen a fraction of what it holds. And my mind is as deep as hell and as high as heaven.
Come on. That's all that resin in there that's causing that to burn. And it'll actually hold a flame for a while, where if it was completely dry sawdust, it would burn itself out real quick.
Yeah.
But that's burning and burning because of all the resin that's sitting in that.
And brand name Gerber. There you go on this one. Huh? Great.
See, now I've set, see how I'm doing it? I've just set my blade down in here, and I'm going to start tapping right on top. And once I'm down level, then I got to move out here and tap on the front. So now I've got something that I can start working with, and I'm going to, I hate to split it on that knot, but I want to split it open again, so maybe we'll try this there. Perfect. That's all I need. I wanted to open that up. So now I've got some pieces that I can start carving on and whatnot. So, yeah.
Just a little shavings.
Right, that'll be the next step. So go ahead, Dave.
Okay, there we are using our Essie. That one's really nice and rich.
Yeah, it is. I'll just maybe get that one more time in half. Nice. Any of those you can work with.
Here we are together batoning.
Not my head though. I didn't want to work on the ground over there. And also if it's sprinkling rain or something, I might need to get up underneath a tree to do this, and then I'm going to pack it back over there. So I need to keep this dry while I'm doing it. So I'm just going to take a piece of my fat wood. I like this big piece right here. 90-degree spine. You can only do this with a knife with a 90-degree spine. So if you go buy a factory Gerber or a Buck or anything else, you're not going to be able to do this. The spine is rounded and it'll just sit here and rub on the piece of wood and nothing will happen. So 90-degree spine, and I'm just going to take me a piece of fat wood, and I'll turn it from time to time rather than always doing it in the same place, because this will round off. I'll turn it and then turn it back, and then that way I've constantly got an edge to keep sanding off. And the harsher the weather conditions, the longer it's been raining or snowing or storming out here, the bigger pile of this stuff you're going to need. Because the more you have, the longer your flame will be sustained, and what you put on top of this may be a little damp, so it's going to need some flame touching it for a while to get it going. A good pile started. I want a little more though. Oh yeah. So for today, being that it's not storming, I'm just going to make a small pile, but I would want something much bigger than that. Okay, that's step one. Then you're going to want to take it. This is your stuff to get your spark going. Okay, that's all I need for today. And like I said, you'll know as things get going, and you guys do this a few times, but if it was raining out here and storming and snowing, I would make my piles of both, you know, 3 or 4 times bigger than that, because I would want this stuff here to hold a flame for 5 minutes. Hold that tight. I'm gonna have to put your thumb all the way around it, around the handle here, like this. And we're gonna point your tip down a little bit, and then we're gonna slice.
Take your right hand in there, or your left hand in there, CJ. Yeah.
See how we're slicing forward and down? There, that's what we wanted. That was a little heavy, that's why that was so thick, but that's what we're doing. Just take your time and go slow. You don't need any speed.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah. But you have lots of time to work with. Get him a knife like yours, so you and you guys can work together.
Because we'll be in a trailer a lot of the time.
Oh, that could be dangerous.
Think of slicing a carrot. You know, making slicings for a salad. You start forward and you just cut. There you go.
But before we can continue on to the next step, we needed to find some kindling to light our fire.
Like put it right on the corner and baton me off 6 or 8 long skinny slivers. But this stuff here, you guys want to get you a nice big handful. Try to get as much as the smaller stuff, and because we're wanting to put it out, but I would grab a bundle 3 times as big around as that for sustaining our fire, for getting our fire going.
But before we began the lesson, we needed to dig a hole, so we had a safe way of putting our fire out.
My shavings that I made and the scrapings, that's going to get the fire going. These are going to sit on top of it. Air's going underneath, so it'll burn up through here. Once I got a bunch of these going really good, then the next size up would go on top of that, and I would actually have some rounds now that I've sawed off, you know, like that fallen log over there from here all the way up to here. And once everything's going, I've got my fire. If I was going to be here for the whole day, I would build a fire reflector back here. I'd make me a nice big rock wall behind here to reflect heat towards me and help keep the smoke from blowing in my face. If I'm going to stay out overnight, then I would actually build a log wall behind this where I drove some stakes in the ground and make that as tall as my shelter, so the smoke, if the wind changed direction, the smoke would go over the top of my shelter rather than down into it where I'm laying. I'll do a little fire and I'll put it out. Even though that caught a spark, my favorite way to do it is to put this right down in here solid and then just start making a whole bunch of fast movements. And now step number 2 would be to put this here. See the air space with the air flow underneath? So now that's going to catch flames. Dave, you want to go ahead and kill that? Just throw some little dirt on it. There we go. Now, if you want to like maybe go on top of this log or something to practice once, this one is real easy.
After showing us how to do it, it was our turn to try to strike our knife against the rod and create a spark so we can light our fire.
You need your block of wood.
My block of wood?
Yeah, none of that stuff goes on until you have fire. You need your block of wood because you're going to have to elevate those branches when you put them on. Otherwise, you've cut off all of your oxygen and you're actually putting your fire out. That way, you get a flow of air going underneath those twigs. Now make sure, Dave, hang on one second. Remember what I said too is when you take everything out of your bandana, all of your fine shavings may end up on the bottom. So you're going to need to take some of these shavings and put them on top because they're going to catch your spark. This stuff, this big piece won't catch your spark. Only this fine stuff is going to spark. Whoa, hold it. No, you're fine. I'm sorry. I thought you actually had the blade side.
Oh, no.
No, you got it. There you go, you got fire. Let that get going before you put anything on it. And I would move some of these shavings over here.
Put much on it just so I keep the...
And now you'd lay your twigs on from here over so that you have airflow underneath, and that airflow will just suck the flames right up through the wood like it did on mine.
So we got fire.
Nicely done. Now when you lay all that down, make sure that you get some of a good pile of the real fine shavings on the top to catch your sparks. And that other stuff you can move up on top of the flame as you need to. Yeah, you got a nice bundle there. Look at that. That's
Dan always leaves the best for his kids.
They're going to see that in Tennessee, so. We'll go ahead and use the big one.
Yeah.
The big one will give you a lot more sparks. And that's what you should have anyway, is one of those big ones that'll last a lot longer. If you're going to do it with the quick strikes, you want to brace your tip down there in solid. Yeah, and don't go so far down that you hit any of your materials with the knife. Yeah, put your tip down solid. There you go.
After struggling a few times, trying to ignite a flame, and after a few more times, I finally had gotten my first little fire.
There you go.
Holy mackerel, CJ!
Yeah, I'd put that down in the dirt so we can, you can either turn it into fire or put it out. You've got all that stuff over there by Dave.
My soul filled with excitement and joy after seeing that tiny little flame that I had created. After a few tries, you'll get it. I guess they were right.
It'll allow a little tiny bit of smoke to get out, and when it stops smoking, your char cloth is done when you're making it. You guys come back in the wintertime, and fire season's over, we'll make some. We'll come out, we'll make char cloth.
As we began our descent down the hill to find a spot for our next lesson, I took a minute to admire the wilderness we had just stepped into. We came to a spot and sat down to to look through the compass to get a bearing on our landscape.
Through where I'm sitting, I can see through there pretty good. That little, I'm calling that a little bottom of a valley right down there.
Yeah.
See how everything now is going to level out for at least 50 yards or more. It's going to be completely level.
Yeah.
See if you can find us something down there in that flat, so we can get down off this hill and down into that flat. If
Had
you
a
can
marker
see.
to make our way back up the hill and back to our base camp.
Like a completely different environment down here. This is our tree.
Yeah.
Let's give us one more tree down in there somewhere, and we'll go to that one. And then I'll show you how we explore this area without losing your waypoint. And it doesn't have to be a big one, just whatever one lines up, small, big.
Got it.
And a good source of fire matches.
Straight line. Here. Maybe, you know what, you've come down to this cool looking valley. I'd like to wander around it a little bit and see what resources are available. I mean, we just saw some fat wood. It looks like there's a creek down there, probably, because it's right in the very bottom and whatnot. This is how we explore. Now you can hike anywhere you want to hike, as long as you don't lose sight of this ribbon. So we're hanging out here where we can actually see it. So you don't need to worry about your compass, as long as you can see this ribbon. I would probably, what I would do actually, this tree is your waypoint. I want to make this more visible where we can hike farther.
And see it better.
Let's go like that. Okay. Now, we can hike all the way up over there. We can make a circle down through the valley. We can go over there. As long as you don't lose this pink ribbon, you can find your waypoint so that you can reverse your reading and get us back to the vehicle. So assuming we wanted to explore this area, that's what we would do. But I'm thinking we ought to go down to the bottom and see if there's water in that creek, because if we get stuck out here, we're going to need some water. Hopefully somebody's got a water filter. If not, I got to risk fire. So let's go ahead and see if we can't find a waypoint that overlooks that valley, so we can maybe put this on the edge of our little drop off somewhere, hike down, walk up and down the creek, and still see our pink ribbon floating in the wind up here. So we still need to get one more. So we're not going to use this yet. That's how we would, but we're going to go down, see if there's any water in that creek. So back up to your tree here first, so you're in line with your tree. Get us as far out to the edge of the next drop off as you can.
Oh, yeah.
How are you feeling so far about knowing, I mean, like I said, you went the exact same path right to my broken stick. Are you feeling pretty confident you're keeping us on a good course?
Yeah.
Good.
Better than I thought I would. Got it.
Okay.
We will see, grasshopper. We will see.
This is a tree that's way in the distance over there. We continued down the hill to find our water source, so we could do our next lesson.
Not yet, but I will have.
Yeah, make sure you guys both got.
Pink.
The other thing is,
Pink and blue they use.
if you're completely lost and have no idea where you are, start hanging these on the tree every 20 feet, because the people that come looking for you will find you by finding these. Plus, if you get a whole bunch out in an opening like this, make a whole bunch that are 10 feet long and hang them all over that little pine tree out in the opening. When the plane, search and rescue plane flies over, they'll see all the pink ribbons. You know, send someone in here. That's actually closed off. I know. I drove as far as you can drive up around this corner, and this is all closed off. We're that waypoint now. So either you have to take us home, or I have to explain to my mom why I didn't come home till tomorrow. Goodness gracious. Well, if we were stuck here, I just found firewood for the next week. Look at the size of those two root pods.
And there's a whole pile right there.
Oh my goodness, and firewood. It's really thick in here with the trees. It's in the shade and the water's in the shade, so we still got water above ground. There you go.
I can actually see the puddle start to shrink. Get back here a little bit.
Someone might think that this is a puddle that's left from the creek drying up, but it's not. What happens with the creeks out here is in the summertime the water goes underground, and every time, or most of the times when it comes to a place that's really shady, in a microclimate like this, it'll come back above ground. So if we walk down through here for a ways, when we came to little microclimates like this, we'd find the water coming back up above ground. And so when cool, it's actually funny because when cool weather comes, even before the rains and the snow starts, when it starts, if we have a whole bunch of real cool days and it freezes at night, there'll be all kinds of places where water starts to appear again back in the streams. Which earlier in the year it would have had these little red buds over it, and I always grab them and eat them because they're loaded with vitamin C.
Yep, really good. They make good tea.
That's what I've heard. I haven't done the tea yet. I've only done pine needle tea, which tastes terrible.
After we had a sip of water, we decided it was time to head back up the hill. So we figured out our bearings and headed back to base camp. We knew it was time to go, but before we hit the road, Dan had one more lesson for us.
Okay. This is called a marlin spike hitch. Pull this back up onto itself like this. But this also works on any type of tent stake, anything else that, so you can use that same thing down on the ground. So like when I put my awnings up, I use this knot to secure my tent stakes down in the ground. So like he was talking about putting up a bear bag. When you bring your string down, you can use this exact same knot around a tent peg, whether it's one you carve, plastic or whatever, to secure it into the ground. And it's super it's super simple is the thing. I mean, that's why you use it, is because it's so simple and yet it's super secure. Now, I'll hand this off to you. Again, all you're doing is folding this up into a loop, and then one more time, and then pulling the middle through and putting something through the middle, whether it be a tent peg or a stick to hang your pack off of or whatever, and that won't go anywhere. That'll hold your whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's the marlin spike hitch.
I haven't seen that done before.
We said our goodbyes. We took some pictures with him, and we thanked him for everything he has done for us. We got in our car, and we headed toward the east.